guardian who for the fourth time went yard again. After each swing he's got me yelling booyah. A home run threat every at bat, the perfect swing for the perfect man. Now all of Cleveland screaming, chase DeLauter, chase DeLauter, chase DeLauter. The Mariners' father, chase DeLauter. Heard he was good, but I needed proof. Then he sent for baseballs through the roof, belt to cheeks, every pitch they threw ya. It's too soon, but I gotta ask, Chase, can you play quarterback? 'Cause the Browns could really use you. Chase DeLauter, chase DeLauter, chase DeLauter. The Mariners' father, chase DeLauter.
And here we are, episode 1 of GuardsMania. I am Gary Faer, and you just heard my co-host here, Logan Bruce, singing the brand new hit here in the Cleveland airwaves, Chase DeLauter Luya. How you doing, Logan?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Man, this has been quite a week for Chase DeLauter and the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be playing tomorrow, right? It looks like he's good to go. Yeah, honestly, whatever happened in the playoffs last year with him doesn't matter anymore. He's right behind Jose, but he's the best player in the world. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, he seems as though he might be the greatest left-handed hitter to ever, come through the Guardian system. Not named Jim Thome so far.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I don't know. Like, just after the first couple games, there's not really much else to say. He's killing it.
Yeah, man, he's been dynamite. And our Guardians here are now 4-3. We are in first place, which early in the season, the Guardians usually, especially in April, we really get off to a slow start every year. So, at any point in time in April when you can say that you are in first place and you're the Cleveland Guardians, that's definitely something to celebrate. So the Guardians are coming home tomorrow with the home opener. In first place, taking on the Chicago Cubs, that awful team from Chicago that stole a world championship from us 10 years ago.
I'll say it. I would have traded the Cavs championship for I guess Indians/Guardians World Series. I think we made too many 3-1 jokes after the Cavs took theirs, and then we blew our own 3-1 lead 4 months later.
Yeah, that was definitely karma coming back to us a little bit. Yeah. We learned a lesson not to, when that stuff happens, you don't make the jokes, especially from a town in Cleveland where, we had definitely been the butt of the jokes for so long. We should have learned. We should have learned those lessons. Yeah, you can't be homeless your whole life and then get a house and the next day make fun of a homeless guy.
Yeah, but hey, man, at least. Well, I'd say at least we're not Pirates fans, but we'll get to them in a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they're calling up there. We can actually get right into that if we want to. Congratulations to Pirates fans. They are calling up Connor Griffin, 9th pick overall in the 2024 draft, a draft where the Guardians for the first time ever had the first overall pick. And there's another guy from that draft that's going to be up here before the first overall pick. Connor Griffin.
Yeah, I think, the Chase DeLauter stuff, it's a nice little transition into talking about these younger players, and then we can dive into some of the other stuff. But, so you actually showed me some of this before the show. I, forgot that he was in the same draft as Bazana. It's tough, man, because it's there. And I don't know if you saw, he actually signed an extension, like probably a couple hours ago. it was like 9 years, $110 million. So this is before he ever steps foot onto a major league field. Immediately when I saw that, I sent it to my brother and was like, this is what we need to do to Bazana. But I mean, you pointed out it's such a small sample size. It's tough.
It is.
I think he's either and I don't want to, I guess, like, don't quote me on it, but I think he's like one of the only few like teenagers like in the modern era to actually make the pros. Like there's probably a few of them out there, but I don't remember.
I mean, there was Wander Franco, but he's in prison now.
Yeah,
and he was one of those guys that signed one of those deals too, and he was a phenom at shortstop for the Rays. And we don't have to go into any of that, but there hasn't been very many.
The first 10 minutes of the episode making Wander Franco
but talking about like Bazana to compare him, we looking here, and so he hasn't had a lot of at bats so far, this season, but as you can see, the at bats that he's had, he's been destroying the baseball. And then you look at Bazana, and if you look here, he's not. He's hitting 167 so far. He has an OPS for his minor league career under 800. And that's not really what you want to see out of your slugging infielder that you spent the first overall pick on. And he's 4 years older than Griffin, which, once again, that's, I hate to say it, but it looks as though, listen, Travis Bazana may end up being good. But it's looking as though, maybe the Guardians missed here on this draft again.
Yeah, it's like, I think, I don't know, the second that Bazana gets called up, I'll be extremely pumped. I even want to try to go see him in the minor leagues before he gets the call up. But it's probably like way too soon to say like he's a bust or anything like that. But then yes, when you have a 19-year-old kid who the Pirates, who don't pay anybody, signed him to this big deal, and he immediately gets the call up almost 365 days, like calendar market, like gets called up exactly a year after his career starts. It's we'll see. It could be with the different the Pirates have a bunch of young guys though, like they're almost in a youth movement on their own. And I was talking, I'll keep mentioning my brother until I can get him to join the show with us, but like I always like we were talking about it earlier, and like when I see the Griffin thing, that's where almost I just wish that we would sign Bazana to something like that. Like even though his stats might not look good here, but it's like, dude, just lock somebody in, like spend some money on these guys. Buster Olney, and I'll stop rambling here in a second, but Buster Olney was saying, I saw something earlier, like that these deals of the guys getting paid before they even make the pros is going to be, there's going to be a lot of them this summer, because once all of this stuff starts happening in the off season, like they think these deals with like the salary cap comes into play or whatever salary rules, like this guy, like Connor Griffin's deal will get grandfathered in. So they think a lot of teams will try to make a push to get these kind of deals done. So they, Connor Griffin could cost $200 million next year if like whatever salary cap rules they come up with.
It's going to be interesting to see, especially I think, but something like this is very, I'm happy for the Pirates and the Pirates fans that they're doing this, but that's still very risky for a team like the Guardians. Not even talking about like with the work stoppage coming up, but if the Guardians have been so hit and miss and mostly miss with their first round draft picks that they start signing these guys to these deals. I mean, now you're not going to be able to sign these low level free agents that you come in, and the excuse is going to be, well, Bazana never made it to the majors, so now you're not going to be able to sign Rhys Hoskins for $2.5 million.
Yeah.
And Rhys Hoskins so far has been, one of only two guys hitting on the team so far. I know it's only the first week, but it's once again, it's the team is pitching. It's pitching, and it's been Rhys Hoskins and Chase DeLauter basically, providing all of the offense for the team this year so far. So, I think if you get the Guardians signing these guys to these deals, as long as the Dolans are in charge there, you run the risk of, if you have these draft busts, you're not going to be able to, sign any of these guys.
Right. And that's where probably the Pirates, like the stats right there, if the dude's killing it at AAA right now, like they knew when spring training was done, or probably about halfway through spring training, like this dude should be on the MLB roster. And then just what, like maybe they were manipulating his service time, whatever it was. They said, well, he's going to play the, first couple series down in AAA. So his entire season's not spent up here. But yeah, to me, that seems like it's very obvious. Like that dude's going to be a stud. And I don't know, maybe there's still question marks even within our organization about Bazana, which I still we have a Browns podcast we have too. And it's like with all the stuff the Browns put us through, like we still somehow remain optimistic. And like, I think like the Browns are going to make the playoffs next year and Bazana's going to be an all-star. Like I still it sucks, but we always have hope.
Oh, for sure. I mean, on MLB The Show, he's always a quick call up for me.
Yeah.
I'm always trading my middle infielders and putting Bazana in there, to see what he can do.
Exactly. He'll be good. That's why I think he'll be all right. It's just when you see stuff like that, it's like, but I don't like if we had Connor Griffin, who knows? It's like the classic Browns thing. Like if we would have drafted Josh Allen, would he be Josh Allen? Like our organization's just built different. So who knows?
Especially with developing hitters. We just have not had a very good track record and reputation for developing hitters. We had a short little track record there in the 90s for somehow, some way we were doing it. We had Albert Bells, and we had, Richie Sextons, and we had Manny Ramirez, Jim Tomies. They were even like, even Herbert Perry. We had guys that could hit coming up through the system. And it just seems like since then, it's just not been, since we drafted Corey Smith, first in the first round there, it just hasn't been, so it just kind of is what it is here. We're just hoping that maybe DeLauter is the first one of these guys that comes up and actually hits, but he's been hurt. He's been hurt throughout his minor league career. And then, he goes on this historic run for the first couple games. And of course, what does he do? He fouls a ball off his foot and he's out.
Yeah.
It's very Cleveland.
That's like I don't want to say like a freak accident, but that's just like it's not like he was running the first and pulled his hamstring again.
For sure.
Or something like that, so.
For sure.
Yeah, I think him, just seeing somebody that we came up through our system, come in and start hitting. Kwan's a good example of it too. There are guys that we've seen succeed, but I just want an exciting bat and just somebody like Kwan is great, but DeLauter, just someone that brings some electricity to the lineup. And,
absolutely.
Manzardo kind of, did he have just under 30 home runs last year?
I think he had 27 home runs last year.
Yeah, maybe Pans. That's solid. He might have hit 210 or whatever it was, but still hit he might be another one that kind of comes up in our system and does well.
For sure. But once again, he's from the Tampa system though.
Yeah.
So, we traded for, I'll give the Guardians credit. He spent time in the minor league system here, and you do have to develop him once you trade for him, but still it's not a guy that was, drafted and developed by the Guardians. For some reason with the pitching, I mean, they can take the amazing thing with the pitching, right, is that they can take these guys that just can locate and they can figure out how to add a couple miles per hour to these guys' fastballs and turn them into, Shane Bieber, Corey Kluber, Tanner Bybee, whoever these are, but they cannot, for some reason, they cannot get these guys to hit.
Yeah. But then that's where other organizations may have, and we don't always want to be doom and gloom on here. I don't think that's what we're doing either.
No, not at all.
Yeah. It's other organizations might have these same exact issues, but then they go out and hire, they pay for veteran bats to kind of fill the hole. And again, Rhys Hoskins, he was actually, I think, a minor league deal that he signed, but he's on, or an invite to camp, whatever the technical term is. But seems like that so far in the first week has been solid, but I don't know. It was just the Edwin Encarnacion. That's what I was hoping after last year, something like the Edwin. All right, this dude's going to hit 35 home runs and hit 250. We know that we're going to go win the division by bringing this guy in.
Yeah, I mean, that would be wonderful. It seems they're a little gun shy to do that again for one reason or another. Yeah. But Rhys Hoskins could be that guy. I mean, he was having a good year in Milwaukee last year before he hurt his hand.
Right.
Rhys Hoskins was a guy that I loved in Philadelphia. When he was there. He was a guy that I wanted the Guardians to go after for a few years. So having him here, I guess it's better late than never. Hopefully it's not too late.
That's what you wanted him 10 years ago. We got him now, though.
Yeah, for sure. But as we said, we keep, as we're standing right now, look at this. We got the Guardians are in first place right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're 4-3. Only 7 games in, but like I said, we usually start off really, really slow in April. So to have first weekend in April and be in first place is something.
Yeah, and especially not that it was an unfair schedule or anything like that, but the Mariners, they are a World Series. Like a lot of people were picking them to win the World Series, and then so we start off there, and then we immediately go to LA to play the Dodgers, and then take the series against the Dodgers.
And the Dodgers, who were undefeated before we went into LA.
That was awesome. Like that's just, I don't know, classic. Like we can sit here and we'll every single week for the entire season, we'll probably sit here and have some complaints about the offense, and but then we'll go in and beat the Dodgers. Like
for sure.
And it's the pitching, like you said.
And not to 4-3 doesn't look particularly sexy, but if you stretch it out over the season, that's a 92-93 win team.
Yeah.
So if the Guardians, obviously, they're going to need to hit a little more. This is a very small sample size, but they're already showing they can win. They know how to win.
Parker Messick, like that outing that he had was insane. Yesterday, Gavin
Williams
dominated. Who again, like we were talking before, and he has like ace potential. I think just when you look at him, it's like just seeing like what is he, like 6'4", something, 6'5", like the dude just looks like he could dominate for years. And yesterday he showed it just by like carving up the Dodgers.
Oh, for sure. Growing up and like having the 90s Indians be like my prime teenage years, when you really are getting into baseball, really spoils you, because you kind of think that those are the sorts of things that are supposed to happen all the time, and you see like a Chase DeLauter, and he's we had 9 of those guys or 7 of those guys, coming up. And so it kind of makes you appreciate having, it's been such a long time to have at least like the one that is doing this right now. And same thing with like a Gavin Williams. It's like remember having like a Jared Wright coming up, who had the nastiest stuff, was a power pitcher, but for one reason or another couldn't put it together. And it seems like, Gavin Williams is starting to put this together. He's not he's not nibbling this year so far. He's going after guys. And that's what you really want to see out of a guy like Gavin Williams. You want to see him. He doesn't need to hit corners. He just needs to overpower guys. He has the stuff to knock, to knock other teams out and to make games really uncompetitive.
Right. And that's any of these, like I think Messick went 6 innings. You get guys going 6-7 innings, giving up 1 run. Like no matter what you say about the offense, like you can compete in a 1 or 2 run game. Like if that's all our starters are giving up, not that they'll always do that, but it's just then it falls into the bullpen, and we don't have to get into the Class A BS, but even like going back to last year, like you can't say enough about how the bullpen handled all that. Just
for sure,
Smith, Armstrong, like these guys this year, it's just we can be in any game, and that's kind of how the Guardians have been. It's the exact opposite of the 90s Indians, but whatever it takes.
Yeah, for sure. And you talking the bullpen too. I mean, Cade Smith, does he give you a little? Is he worrying you a little bit so far? So like he was pretty lights out. He came in for Class A last year when they needed him. We really thought coming in he was going to be one of the top closers in baseball, and he's, of everything that has looked great, and the pitching has looked awesome. We're a weekend, right? So these are early reactions. These are overreactions a little bit, whether it's good or bad. But Cade Smith has looked shaky.
Yeah,
he's been getting creamed here in the first week of the season. What's your take on Cade Smith?
I think any of the closer stuff, I try to take it with a grain of salt. I played college baseball for a little bit. I was a starting pitcher, and like like I threw harder than most guys, and I was like a decent starter, pretty good starter, I guess. I could not close games, so it was like it's just like a totally different mindset going in there, and I think you can even see it here, like with Cade Smith. Not like I'm trying to say I would have been Cade Smith if I didn't quit playing, but
can you elaborate? Can you elaborate a little bit on that, on the different mindset?
It's
like how does that change?
Yeah, just again, this is from high school and then a very brief stint in college, but you like Gavin Williams, we're talking about him, like you're just able to kind of get into a momentum. Like you'll see a guy, and they'll even say it on almost every broadcast. Okay, like in the third or fourth inning, he's really settled in. When Cade Smith comes into a game in the ninth inning, you have no time to settle in. You're up by 1 run, and Shohei Ohtani's coming up. And it's just, I think even like as the season goes on and his career, like he already had a little bit of it last year, it helps. That's why a lot of these guys start off in the setup role, because you kind of get a little taste of like what exactly how intense it actually is, and then move into the closer role once you've proved yourself almost. I think we'll see him probably settle in. Like I think after another couple of weeks, we'll be sitting here and saying, all right, like he's fine. But it's especially those first few weeks just coming out of spring training, like they've been, you know, not relaxing, but playing spring training games that don't really matter. His spot on the roster was fine. And now all of a sudden he's thrust into a ninth inning with Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts coming up. You know,
yeah,
so
I mean, that's a hell of a lineup. Talking about like those 90s lineups, that's really with watching the Dodgers, man. Reminded me of those lines. I mean, you just 1 through 9, there's no break.
Yeah. And they make sure of it because they'll just say, all right, our 8th hitter hit free agency this year. Let's go sign Kyle Tucker. And let's just bring let's 300, 400 million, just throw it at this guy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I don't know. I love that we went in and won that series because it's just like, but then I hate it too, because then, you know, Dolan's just sitting there and like, see, this is why I don't have to
spend money.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You know, they put together a heck of an organization with the Guardians, you know, that you can't, you know, you can't deny that. Just kind of wish they would just spend a little bit more to be a little bit more competitive, you know, with the roster there. But, you know, you know, you can't say anything about, you know, as long as they stay in first place and they stay competitive, they keep going to the playoffs. There's really not a lot to complain about, you know. You know, we have opening day tomorrow, which is a holiday here in Cleveland. You know, you got a lot of businesses down in downtown Cleveland, which will not be doing business tomorrow. Instead, they will be having opening day parties. So if you have, if you're a business anywhere near or around the stadium, you are probably not getting anything done tomorrow. You're going to have your rooftop open. You're going to be grilling out. You're going to be having some drinks. And it's going to be getting louder with DeLauter tomorrow.
Dude, I'm so happy that he's going to be healthy for that game. You're going, right?
I am. I will be there. So if Guards fans, if you're down there, say hi. You know, we will be down there. Me and some buddies. Be me and a couple buddies. And man, we cannot wait. This will actually be my first opening day in my whole life.
Really?
Yeah, I've never gone down to opening day. It just always was like there was too many people. You know, I just for one reason or another never went down there.
Right. Yeah, it's I think I've been to one, and dude, it's gonna be awesome. Especially, I was really happy that DeLauter is gonna be healthy, or at least out there playing with his injury, if not fully healthy. But that reception that you guys are gonna give him tomorrow is gonna be awesome.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. And Jose hit a home run his last game, so maybe he's just starting to heat up a little bit. I was just looking at some of the stats here, and it's DeLauter's actually first on the team right now in batting average, hitting 273. So Manzardo is hitting .083, which is great. So yeah, we need to get these averages up. Let's get some singles tomorrow on a DeLauter and Jose home run.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and you know, man, I cannot wait to see Manzardo get hot this year. You know, it just seems as though they finally have a little bit of a lineup here that, you know, it could be a major league lineup, which they haven't had in a couple years.
Right.
You know, we got a question in from the Land Media Group. Wants an over/under for Browns wins over the Guards wins right now.
For Browns wins over the Guards wins?
Yeah. So are the Browns going to win more games than the Guards have right now in the first week?
4. No.
No.
Maybe over the next 2 seasons, the Browns will win 4 games. We'll see.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah.
So looking at DeLauter, we're talking about him a lot. Does he remind you of anybody?
Anytime I see a left-handed hitter in a Cleveland uniform, this is not a comparison, but I just think of Jim Thome, and it's only because he's left-handed and hit a few home runs. But what about you?
So I've been looking at him, and all I see when I see him is Richie Sexson. And so, I was kind of
tall, lanky guys.
Tall, lanky guys. Keeps his hands in, short swing. Can just hit anything, anywhere. So here, I wanted to show you guys what I'm talking about here. And, as I was doing this, I was really looking a little bit more at DeLauter's swing. And I've heard people talk about like how DeLauter's swing is, there's something goofy about it, right? And you don't want to change his swing because of it's gotten him here. And I'm just like, I know, to me, it looks like Richie Sexson. There's something goofy about it. I can't figure out what is goofy about it. There's just something weird, right?
Yeah.
So as I'm going through making these videos, I'm going to show you what I found that is, and I tried his swing earlier today, and I almost fell on my face. I don't know if it's
have something to counteract your balance and knock a baseball 400 feet.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even swinging at a ball. This was just me, in my yard.
Yeah.
Wait till we see this. So here is a little bit of glory days. Here is Richie Sexson.
Slam his 5th home run of the year. Indians win at 9-4.
All right, here we go. Some Richie Sexson
Indians'
swings.
second win over Oakland in 10 tries this season. As for Sexson,
with a triple. Top 4, same score. Seth Greisinger pitching.
Look at that short
Richie
swing.
Sexson.
Keeps his hands in.
He's 6'7". He's long and he's
big,
deep.
tall guy crushing it, right? Here's
first time in his career. First major league homer. 3-0 Cleveland. Top of the 7th, runners on
his played
opposite
great
field
for Cleveland. Bottom of the 7th, bases loaded. Indians down 1.
Pulls it,
His
crushes it,
first
hits.
career grand slam, his
Right.
5th home run of the year. Indians win at 9-4. Just the Indians' second win over Oakland in 10 tries this season. As for Sexson,
with a triple. Top 4, same score. Seth Greisinger pitching. Richie Sexson. He's 6'7". He's long and he's deep. 5 homers in the left.
Long and deep. Right, so
Man,
we see these, right?
90s baseball, man. Yeah.
So then I'm doing these, and I'm like, well, I want to see. I want to see like a beautiful left-handed swing. And when I think of beautiful left-handed swings and the Indians, Guardians, I know you said you think of Jim Thome because he's an all-time great, but the most beautiful swing I ever remember is David Justice. And funny enough, in this clip here, we find Richie Sexson, David Justice hitting behind Richie Sexson. So we're going to see both of these swings, right? So you're going to see a Richie Sexson swing, and you're going to see David Justice, right?
All right. Single. And scored on a ground out by David Justice. Grounded into center field, base hit.
All right, see that he stays on it, his hands are back, right? He can do, Sexson can inside out swing and put it in the right field if he wants to, right? That's something beautiful about DeLauter.
3 consecutive hits.
For some reason or another, left-handed swings are always more beautiful than right-handed swings.
He now has 89 ribbies on the season. That's the lead half of 12-6.
You see
jumps
that?
on that pitch right back.
For one reason or another, Sexton's swing always just looked good.
Ball down in the strike zone. It scores Alex Ramirez and Jim Thome.
And I'll tell you what happens now. The bullpen for the Angels goes back to work. Terry Collins is not going to take any chances, even though they're up by 6.
Tribe's down 6-12. David Justice is coming up to bat here.
13 hits.
I think we're going to see our first pitch. What's that?
290.
But the Tribe bullpen tonight has allowed 9 runs.
All right, so now we're going to see a swing on this pitch.
In 3 innings.
And David Justice is such a smooth, beautiful pitch. Or swing here.
Shiggy Asagawa.
That's right.
Shigetoshi Asagawa loosening up. He loosened up a little bit last night. Justice, a base hit off the end of the bat. Sexton will Toshi.
I want to look at this again. David Justice, watch his back foot. His back foot there. He stays on his toe, right? They say like when you're batting, you don't want to squish the bug with your back foot, right? Because that'll take all your power away. So he kind of puts that toe up, Just watch how stable and smooth he is.
Listen up a little bit last night.
You see that?
A base hit off the end.
But that foot doesn't move until he hits the ball, right?
Four consecutive hits for the Indians.
Now we're going to watch Chase DeLauter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unique, and yet it generates so much power.
And the last time,
so he's talking about how unique it is, and it generates power
the other way. And this one, he just.
Sorry, guys. I don't know why it is doing that. Let's do it from the beginning here. Here we go.
And now Chase DeLauter. Goodbye. Deep right field. Into the night it goes, and it's 6-4 Guardians. Now,
all right, they're going to show a replay here. I want you to watch his back foot.
Night for Chase DeLauter.
And I went through. I tried to watch his back foot here.
Just jumped off his bat. I mean, that was pretty.
Have you ever seen anybody that he reminds you of? That short stroke is so unique, and yet it generates so much power.
And the last time at bat, he just took a nice
that short stroke reminds me of Richie Sexton, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what's so unique to me.
And now Chase DeLauter.
It's not what's unique.
Goodbye.
No.
Deep right field.
It's that back foot.
Into the night it goes, and it's 6-4 Guardians. Now
you talk about the athleticism and the dexterity of someone to be able to swing and do that with his foot. That's what almost knocked me on my butt.
I mean, that was pretty.
You know what?
Have you ever seen anybody that he reminds you of? That short stroke is so unique, and yet it generates so much power.
And
you know what it reminds me of is one of the the longest drive guys in golf. Have you seen those longest drive competitions where they it's not a normal golf swing? Like they swing so hard that their back foot almost falls away, so their entire body can rip around and hit the golf ball as far as they can. It's a very unique swing, and the back foot just completely falls out. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've never, and I thought, I was like, maybe that looks like, because Ichiro would almost leave the box sometimes before he hit the ball.
Yeah, he was almost drag bunting when he would hit, run out of the box and swing.
Yeah, but that wasn't even like that. Just so unique, So I guess, we don't want him changing his swing, but, like you were saying earlier before we went on air,
yeah,
it's going to be interesting when you start seeing some big sweeping curveballs or he gets fooled on a changeup, what that's going to look like.
Yeah, that's what I don't even know if they do the not top 10 anymore, but it's when you have that much movement, it's almost like the big leg kicks too, the big front leg kicks. You don't want to change it just because it looks weird or you look silly a couple times, but I bet there's going to be a few times where he just tries to unload on one, his back foot falls away like that. He doesn't time the swing right at all because he wasn't expecting that pitch and ends up looking stupid, like just falling over or something. But it's fine if he wants to do a couple of those and fall, but he's still able to hit 30, 35 home runs. Scotty Scheffler, that's actually a perfect example. Thank you, Andy. So yes. If you watch Scotty's swing, that's actually the perfect analogy. He twists his leg falls back and he just rips it. It's a very weird swing.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are amazing. I don't know how they stand on their feet when they do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just trying to think. It's the exact opposite almost of Jose's swing because he's just small. He doesn't have as much just physical power to be able to he has to actually have almost the perfect swing to be able to hit the way he does. If he tried to do a bunch of weird stuff like that, he wouldn't be able to hit 30, 35 home runs a year.
Jose's all torque.
Yeah, that's what he's just 5'4" meatball just swinging his but we love him.
Yeah, we do. But DeLauter is going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to see how this swing progresses. How he progresses. We want him to stay healthy, man. So Chase, don't get on any motorbikes. Stay off of the ATVs, man. No, I'm gonna need to wrap you in bubble tape, bro.
Yeah, he'd be one if we're talking maybe Bazana's not the one we need to sign to one of those deals. Maybe it's him. With the injury concerns, I guess is one thing, but I don't know. Nobody knows if Connor Griffin has injury concerns. He's 19.
That's true.
And I keep saying the Tigers, but the Pirates just said, all right, this dude can play.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, it's if Paul Dolan paid somebody $110 million over 9 years and they kept getting hurt all the time, he can afford it. That's what I would just wish that he would just do it. And we could just ink these guys in so they don't end up on the Yankees in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, who's to say though? I mean, you sign a deal like that, and they're almost more likely to end up as a Yankee because then you have these team-friendly deals, and then the return that you get for these guys would be incredible. You'd have to almost get no trade clauses for these guys in order to guarantee that for that to happen.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I can't believe Jose Ramirez keeps signing these extensions. That's unbelievable.
He's the best, man. Like I don't know, and I don't blame anybody that wants. Like honestly, every time he signs a deal, it's like, man, dude, like what are you like? We love you, but what are you doing? So like I'm glad that he does it, but it's like, dude, you can like nobody would blame you if you left for $400 million to go play for the Cubs. Like so maybe I don't know, maybe his attitude will start to. Like it's contagious, and some of the other guys in the locker room can buy into that too. Like seeing this top 3 or top 5 MVP candidate every year just choose to play here for a lot less money.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what they're going to do with Kwan. Kwan's in this weird spot where it's like, okay, he can hit, but he's not really he's like a Scott Pasednik without the speed.
Yeah, he's great fielder though too. Like that. I mean, that's what's tough. Like if we're talking, like if we're saying the team can't hit and score runs. Some of he saves runs out there in left field,
but he's not in left field anymore. He's a center field. They're playing him in center field, and so he goes from a plus out there in left field to but you know what I mean. But we don't really know what he's definitely not a plus in center field,
right?
So how does that play in center field? And then if he has no power, he's a singles guy, and if he's not hitting singles, then what is he really?
Yeah. It's tough. Like I would not want to see us get rid of him at all.
But this is the last year he's under contract though.
Yeah, but that's what. And then like deep down though, I know that Dolan's not going to want to pay him.
But what do you pay him? What do you pay a guy like that?
Somebody will pay him. It won't be us, but I think like he would get over like 140, 150 million somewhere.
So do you think he's a $25, $30 million a year guy?
If I was the owner of the Guardians, I would pay him that much because I think the rest of our team is like, I don't know. Like I can see not that you're arguing, but I could see your side of it. Like, is he really like a elite player or something like that? But I think someone, I don't know, like the Rangers or somebody like that would pay him decent money to come play there. Just because, those are teams that aren't relying, like they wouldn't be relying on Steven Kwan 100% of the time. Like here, it's like he's got to be one of our top 2, maybe top 3 hitters at worst. And it's like he could, like the Dodgers, God forbid, but like he would kill it there, just kind of buried in their lineup, hitting 310.
Oh, for sure, just constantly protected, and he could hit leadoff for me. He could hit ninth. I would like to see them keep him if they can sign him for $14-15 million. It's not my money, so I don't care. But just the way the Guardians work, it's if they sign a guy for big money and then that guy does not work out, then they don't sign another guy for another decade. So if they can sign him $14, $15, $16 million a year, I welcome him back. But just for me, it's just like Kwan. He's one of those weird dudes. He has tools, but they're in the wrong spot.
Right.
For what you need to do in a team, with this team in this market with their needs, he just does not do the right things. Which kind of what annoys me with him, that he hasn't accepted an extension with them yet.
Yeah.
It's like what do you think,
any details on this though? That's where I think like probably these guys like have their agents whispering in their ear too, like, okay, the Guards offered you 13 million, but like the Mets will pay you 22. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not all Kwan. I mean, ultimately it's his decision ultimately, but the agents are whispering in their ear too, like, because the more money he gets, the more money they get.
Absolutely.
It's all about the player though. Like Jose doesn't seem to care.
Yeah.
He's just happy here in Cleveland. And I don't blame guys that might not be either. Like if Kwan wants to go make his money and we don't offer him what he thinks he's worth, then, if he signs for $10 million more somewhere else, like you can't blame him. It's $10 million.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You can't resent guys and get mad at them for getting their money. I already went through that in the 90s where you hated guys for doing that.
Yeah, well, dude, I mean the Manny Ramirez, like I don't know, like that was when I was born in 1990, so it was like right as I was falling in love with baseball and like just starting to figure out that I love the game. It was like my first memory of watching baseball was watching the 95 Indians, and then the 97 BS too. But then like just have like the first 10 years that I liked baseball was just like the glory days. Probably like not this like for you guys in the Browns. Like in the like with Bernie Kosar and Syke and guys, like that was your first memory of the Browns, and now you have to deal with the way they are now. Which I don't know what would be worse because I never saw any happy memories of them.
Yeah, the first memories and it's funny. It's like you have just those few happy memories that will bring you through a lifetime of fandom.
Yeah,
right. And which is kind of crazy for me a little bit, just when you think about it, because at one point, and there was a small period where this was a baseball town. Especially when the Browns left. I know it's 30 years ago at this point. So a lot of people don't remember it, but this was a baseball town, and that's kind of why we're doing this podcast here, is because we're big. We do a Browns podcast. We love the Browns. We know this is a football town, but we're baseball guys.
Yeah.
We love baseball. We love the Guardians/Indians, and we want to kind of try and bring that fun back here a little bit. And speaking of guys that like went and took the money, the first one that left and took the money, that was, I don't know if you were probably about 6. You were about 6 years old when this happened. 6 turning 7. Was a guy that I named my favorite dog after.
I know this guy.
You know this guy?
I know this guy.
I have one of his banners from the 96 season in my house now that they had up in the stadium. I think he is the best right-handed hitter of all time and should be a Hall of Famer. His name's Albert Bell. He was the first guy to leave for the money.
You go to Chicago?
He went to Chicago. Signed the richest deal in baseball history at the time. Called the Cleveland fans village idiots because we were throwing batteries at him and money at him when he came back. I don't know what came first, the village idiots or the batteries, but they happened at the same time. There was a lot of anger, because we had that 95, 96 team and then it got broken up, and it really just wasn't the same after that. And, he's talked about why he did it. He was pissed that we didn't re-sign Ken Hill after the 95 season and that we traded Baerga in 96. But even that trade in 96, man, like we traded Baerga for Jose Vizcaino and Jeff Kent.
Yeah.
Jeff Kent ended up being an MVP.
He's one of the top, being generous, like top 5 second baseman of all time, just off like at least hitting.
Offensively. Yeah. It might be the best offensive second baseman of all time. MVP candidate, hits behind Barry Bonds. But nobody knew that at the time. He was kind of like he was a middling prospect for the Mets, when we got him. And then we trade Jeff Kent and Vizcaino for Matt Williams, and then Matt Williams for Travis Fryman eventually, right? So, things ended up working out for the Tribe. As far on that front, but that's, those are the big reasons why, he talked about leaving, other than John Hart telling him that he would never get this contract. Right. So there was a time here where, Albert Bell was like, you couldn't, and even that time, Albert Bell's my favorite Indian of all time. And I would have thrown a battery at him. 16. Yeah.
I mean, it's like almost like a Kevin Durant in the Thunder situation. Like, the team's on top of the world and then you just leave.
Yeah. For sure. And then you call us village idiots, even though we were village idiots. You didn't have to call me that.
That's what, that's what, like I posted. It's like, we know, but you can't say that. Like, we can call ourselves idiots, but you can't say that.
Yeah. You broke up with me. You don't get to call me a village idiot, Albert Bell.
Yeah.
But, things have, he hasn't really, things have gotten a little better between him and the organization, but I think the fans here, time has healed wounds. And I think, the people here, especially us that were alive and fans then, really would love to see him more a part of the organization, because he was such an incredible part of our history. The flexing Wahoo, that was him. That was in the 95 ALDS when Kennedy wanted to check his bat to see if there was cork in it after he crushed one.
Yeah.
I don't remember who he hit it off of, but he said, "Hey, your cork's right up in here."
I remember that. Yeah.
That was the whole identity of the Indians for 20 years after that. Everybody in the crowd, you had those that was Albert Bell. So a segment on this show every week is that we want to make a case for why Albert Bell belongs in the Hall of Fame. And so the first thing we're going to do here is we're just going to pull up his career stats because I think they speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. So here's Albert Bell. Albert Bell is a guy whose career was cut short by injuries. He had 391 career home runs, so 9 short of 400 home runs in 12 seasons?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I don't know what else.
Once he started going, he didn't stop. He never even – is 2000 his last year?
2000 was his last year.
My God. And
when he had that hip injury.
Yeah. He still hit 23 with 103 ribbies.
Yes.
And that's hitting in a 35-year-old Cal Ripken every other day.
Yeah, and he had a career average of 295.
So let me ask you, I'm not here to start an argument at all. But Manny Ramirez was probably my favorite Indian for a while there.
Mm-hmm.
You would put Albert Bell above Manny?
I would.
I don't have stats to back it up. I'm genuinely curious.
I mean, statistically, I think Manny had the better career.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was a pitcher with a game on the line, the person that I want to face the least is Albert Bell.
Yeah.
I would walk Albert to get to Manny.
Damn. And I mean, to be fair with Manny, like he had his own, like I guess, whatever issues. Half of his career, he had David Ortiz hitting right next to him in the lineup too.
For sure. But you also had him too, like in the middle of the, in the middle of the playoffs. Manny Ramirez, when they talk about like Manny being Manny, he would do stuff like change his swing so that he could hit like Harold Baines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
catch a fly ball and then run up and high five a fan before he throws it back into play.
Yeah, he did weird stuff all the time. Yeah. Albert Bell was all business all the time. And I know that like this is like during the steroid era, but if you look at like the years for some of these numbers, Albert Bell was putting up numbers when other guys weren't.
Mm-hmm.
You look at these home run numbers, guys, when 92, not everybody was hitting 34, 38 home runs. In the strike shortened season in 94, there wasn't a lot of guys hitting 30, had 36 home runs. There was a couple guys that year in 94 who were on pace to maybe go after Roger Maris's record. Matt Williams was basically the guy going after that record.
Yeah.
But it was like Matt Williams and Albert Bell and Griffey. That was it.
Right.
Those were the guys. Albert Bell was the most feared hitter in baseball.
I remember seeing him, and it was like, we won't throw any accusations out there, but I was just looking at him like he probably would be the scariest hitter in our lineup. The dude looked like at any point he could send one 450 feet into deep center.
Yeah, and he hit balls sometimes that like he had no business hitting.
Yeah,
he hit a I'll find it for next show, but I remember him hitting a grand slam to end a game that was an eye level pitch outside of the zone. Guys didn't do that. He was so strong,
swinging a 45-ounce bat too, like just a giant lumber.
Yeah, the guy was incredible, and I think that like whatever reason that you think that his hip went, some people think it's whatever they think it is. The fact is that we don't have any proof.
Yeah.
The guy never failed a drug test. All he was just an a-hole. He was robbed of the 95 MVP.
Mm-hmm. Who won 95?
Mo Vaughn.
Mm.
Who, funny enough, lives in Cleveland now. Owns a trucking company. Yeah.
Wow.
Owns a trucking company that's based out of Cleveland.
Wow.
But the guy, and what's a shame is that like not only did he come off of the not only did he come off of like the voting really quickly, but then the Veterans Committee didn't put him in. It's just so I think there's
like,
and there's a few,
Barry Bonds scenario. Like, well, that's like very clearly. Is it just because he was?
Because he was an asshole.
Yeah,
that's it. It's because he threw a ball at Hannah Storm in the '95 series. It's because one Halloween kids egged his house and he chased him with his Bronco.
Girl and you're not allowed in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you hit one reporter with a baseball during a World Series and you can't be in the Hall of Fame now.
What is this? Yeah.
You get caught peeing outside of a soccer game one time after you retire and someone says stop peeing and you pull your Johnson out. Now all of a sudden you can't be a Hall of Famer.
What is this? Yeah. Ty Cobb was an asshole.
That's my point.
Yeah, the face of baseball, but it was like everybody knew he was nobody
and a racist and bigot and Ty Cobb was like a horrible human being,
right?
And they haven't pulled him out of the Hall of Fame,
right?
I think that one of the reasons that baseball has started to, lose popularity, is that it was this game of like this rich history, and it really was. They really celebrated the past heroes.
Yeah.
There's no past heroes over the last 30-something years because
you're not allowed to have heroes. You can't idolize Barry Bonds.
No, you can't. You can't love Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire or Albert Bell or Jeff Bagwell or any of these guys. You can't. Roger Clemens.
Yeah.
You can't. There's none of these guys. You're not allowed to celebrate any of these guys. And it really kind of goes back to like it started with like Pete Rose when that stuff happened in the late 80s.
Yeah.
And baseball got holier than thou. And I think it's time that we start celebrating these guys because the thing is that for most of them, whether they did or they didn't, the stuff wasn't illegal at the time. And most of that stuff you can get a doctor's exemption for, and these guys are doing now anyway.
Right. Well, that's what again, I was a little bit younger, but like that summer of 98, like again, I was an 8-year-old kid glued to the TV every day to see if Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire hit a home run that day. And that's
I graduated high school that year. And that summer, my dad and I went on a road trip to go chase McGwire and Sosa.
See, the game didn't need saving or anything. I think that kind of story gets played out they saved baseball. I don't think baseball needed saving at any point, and it never will. But it was like that was the year that even people that didn't like baseball or necessarily care about it were watching ESPN every single morning before school to see if Sammy Sosa hit a home run.
Yeah.
And everybody had an opinion on who they wanted to do it. And I don't give a shit about the Cardinals or the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I wanted Sammy Sosa to break the record instead of Mark McGwire. And I couldn't even tell you why, but I was rooting for Sammy the whole time.
For sure. It was something, it captivated everybody. And now you have these incredible moments that you're not allowed to celebrate.
Right.
And that's a mistake. Barry Bonds,
Pete Rose, dude. I don't know, just the whole thing, and then him passing. It's just it's a shame. It goes back to the Black Sox even. With the Joe Jack, that. If they threw the World Series, but it was I don't know, the Shoeless Joe stuff. Everyone might know the story just because of Field of Dreams or the movie 8 Men Out. But it was I don't know, that dude, he dominated that entire series, and his entire career was great. And now he's just blacklisted for forever.
For sure.
He shouldn't have taken the money, I guess. But it was dude, it's almost like they're, like you said, holier than thou. But they weren't complaining in the 90s, when Albert Bell hit 49 home runs. Bud Selig wasn't saying anything then, or whoever, if he was the commissioner.
Those checks cashed.
Yeah, that's what
everybody's checks cashed. You know what I mean? So I just I think that I want to. Hopefully, it starts here. But I definitely would love to see people in the city of Cleveland here, especially people in the media. We need to start this movement here. Albert Bell belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
We need to start celebrating our rich history of baseball here. Omar Vizquel was a Hall of Famer, I guess, before all this weird stuff came out the last couple years. But on the field, I'm sorry, man. He was a better. Omar Vizquel was a better shortstop than Ozzie Smith.
Defensively,
take that. Even offensively,
yeah.
Offensively, he was.
Mm-hmm.
He was. I would take Omar Vizquel over Ozzie Smith every day.
That's fair. I mean, just think him and even Robbie Alomar together, I would say might be the best tandem.
Ever.
Yeah. You don't have any argument for me on that one.
Kenny Lofton.
Yeah.
Kenny Lofton. Talking about a guy that got robbed. And here's the thing. If you're going to use the steroid stuff as a reason not to put some, Manny in and Albert and some of those guys, then that's the reason why you put Kenny in.
Yeah. It's just
because Kenny won all those gold gloves and changed the game with his speed and wasn't a steroid guy.
Mm-hmm. That's maybe they just didn't like the 90s Indians in general.
Well, I think it's
Sandy Alomar. I don't know I don't know enough about Sandy's career to say he deserves to be in or not, but
Sandy got hurt too much.
Yeah. Okay.
Sandy was too tall to be a catcher, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he just kept taking foul balls and, bats, and Sandy just got hurt too much.
Right.
So I think if Sandy doesn't, during his time period there, like it was, a couple things with Sandy. One, he was injured too much. The other part is he played when Pudge was around. So yeah. Pudge won the Gold Glove every year. The whole time the Pudge was there, the only other guys to win a Gold Glove were Tony Pena and Sandy Alomar in the AL.
Pudge hit too. He wasn't. It's not like he was only defense. He was pretty good offensively too.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to throw around accusations.
He was.
You know what I'm saying?
He was very built for his stature.
He was, and all of a sudden he hit 40 home runs out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But dude, I'm a steroid guy, man. I think guys should take steroids. I want steroids back in the game. Sorry if that turns anybody off here. We just lost a viewer as soon as I said that. Yeah. I said I'm a steroid guy, and the viewership went down.
Maybe it was Mike because he's actively using steroids.
Yeah. But these guys can get doctor's notes to do this stuff now.
Yeah. That's right. Shit, dude. If it helps us get another guy hit over 30 home runs, then I'm all for it.
Well, I don't think it doesn't make these guys. That's I think the difference is that like people misunderstand. It doesn't make these guys hit 30 home runs, right? In the way that like it makes them a better hitter, but it makes these guys, the recovery is faster.
Yeah.
Like the reason why guys in the NBA don't play 82 games anymore.
We could have a whole episode on that and complaining about it. Yeah.
Well, it's like, dude, all of a sudden everybody in the 90s played 82 games and was bald.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden everybody has their hair and they get hurt all the time in the NBA, right? Well, I wonder why that is.
Right.
In all the sports, baseball, everybody's head was this big. They were bald. They were hitting, they were playing 155 games a year. And, you didn't need to have a bench in the 90s.
Because they just played.
They just played,
Yeah. They played the game that they're paid millions to play.
Yeah. Like they, and it's like, it didn't seem like it seemed like they were doing it under doctor's care. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess our official stance can be that we need steroids back in baseball.
That's my first show.
Episode 1, we bring them back. I won't go that far. I will say those 90s guys. And I honestly, like while we were talking about it, I think in future episodes, let's try to maybe not even keep it the 90s, but even have like a throwback player of the week, like just one random old school player that like Mickey Mantle, somebody that we just randomly call out and go through their stuff.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And you guys too, you can also send us an email. If there's somebody that you want us to do kind of like a retrospective of, somebody you want us to look at, let us know. You can send us an email. Our email address is GuardsManiaCLE@gmail.com. GuardsManiaCLE@gmail.com. Shoot us an email there. If there's somebody that you want us to, go over, talk about some older cats. It doesn't have to be 90s. can be somebody who recently retired. It can be somebody from a long time ago. Shoot us over an email. Let us know. If maybe there's if you have a song request here for Logan.
There we go. Yeah.
Let us know. Send us an email there. But we I think it's really all we really plan to talk about here today. We just got it. It looks like it's going to be an exciting season exciting season for the Guards this year. We're 4-3 on pace to win 92 to 93 games. We just need this offense to pick up a little bit. But other than that, man, I think this is going to be an exciting season. We have our home opener tomorrow. So if you're out there and you see me out there, please do say hi. And, we are excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, man, dude, I'm excited to keep doing this. Couldn't ask for a better first week, honestly, with the schedule we had. So 4-3 coming out of that, and let's see what happens over the weekend and next week's series too.
Yeah, for sure. And so, for Logan Bruce, I'm Gary Faer. And what you gonna do when the Guards run wild on you, GuardsManiacs? Logan.
I assume this is wrestling. I've never watched wrestling before. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was a little bit of wrestling.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have Logan take us out here with this Chase DeLauter song once again. Make sure you follow Logan on Instagram. He's got a YouTube channel, Facebook. Logan's has some awesome original music. He does a lot of like Cleveland parodies, but he also has some really great original music. So make sure that you are, supporting, because it definitely helps a lot. We have up there, when you like and subscribe, it helps for those that are married. It helps our wives not yell at us for spending our own money on this stuff. And then also when you like and subscribe for Logan, man, it helps him live the dream. So thank you very much for you guys' support. And we will see you next week. Go Guards.
Go Guards.
I heard there was a guardian who for the 4th time went yard again. After each swing he's got me yelling booyah. A home run threat every at bat, the perfect swing for the perfect man. Now all of Cleveland screaming, Chase DeLauter, Chase DeLauter, Chase DeLauter, the Mariners' father, Chase DeLauter. Heard he was good, but I needed proof. Then he sent 4 baseballs through the roof, belt to cheeks, every pitch they threw ya. It's too soon, but I gotta ask, Chase, can you play quarterback? 'Cause the Browns could really use you. Chase DeLauter, Chase DeLauter, Chase DeLauter, the Mariners' father, Chase DeLauter.